International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and we at IFCJ, together with the Jerusalem Post, are delighted to recognize these honorees and their faithful friendship with Israel. This award celebrates individuals who have boldly supported the Jewish people through both platforms and politics, as well as from pulpits and churches. In times of rising global challenges, it's more important than ever to stand firm in our vocal support for Israel and the Jewish people. These honorees have demonstrated unwavering commitment to stand with Israel, making a lasting impact across all sectors of society. Our first honoree that I am so honored to welcome is Michelle Bachman. Michelle has served in the U.S. Congress and is currently Dean for the Robertson School of Government at Regent University. She has been a faithful supporter of Israel, having visited more than 30 times, and she serves on the Board of Directors of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Michelle's support has been especially invaluable since October 7th, as she has reached Christians, especially the young generation, with messages of support for Israel as they have been bombarded by anti-Israel messages. She spreads a truth and a love for people of faith, and we are so honored to welcome Michelle Bachman.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the honor.
Oh, God bless you. I'm so happy. Michelle, you have been working around the clock to stand with Israel and to speak to the next generation of Christians. What do you think that today's youth need to hear and understand about Israel in order to effectively spread the message of standing with truth and Christians and Jews standing together in peace?
I think what they need to understand is that Israel's what's right with the world. There's been so many lies that have been told about Israel, the propaganda, and so what we try to do is tell the truth. It's really important that we hand the baton from my generation to the younger generation. I learned to love Israel when I was 18 and I went to Israel for the first time. But we need to get young people to go to Israel, but we need to speak to them because not all of them have the opportunity to go. So it's extremely important that we teach them. And so at Regent, for instance, we have started the Israel Institute. We're specifically targeting young people with the truth and the reality of Israel, but then also the churches. We want to equip the churches so they can have ready-made Bible studies and digital products so they can teach the next generation. We also started a PhD program so that we could credential people to go into the highest echelons of government, the State Department, the Pentagon, Department of Defense. We want people who have a reality-based view of Israel when they're making decisions in public policy.
You've been spreading prayer across the Middle East and across the world, and I know you believe in Genesis 12:3. How has that promise come to reality and fruition in your life?
Oh, there's no question. What Genesis 12:3 says is when you bless Israel, you will be blessed yourself. And that's absolutely true. So we sponsor 40 days of prayer and fasting every fall, ending on Yom Kippur, the Teshuvah period. We had 5,000 people last year. We prayed, we fasted for Israel, and we've seen incredible results. We're all moved because of what we saw October 7th, 2023. But we've done this now for 4 years, and we grow every year because people love Israel, they want to pray in Israel, and they've seen the miracles that come from the power of prayer.
Wow. Michelle Bachman, thank you so much for everything you do. Next, we are so honored. Yeah, round of applause. Next, we are so honored to welcome Pastor Carlos Ortiz. He's a pastor and a dear friend of Israel. His dedicated work through the decades has helped mend and nurture the relationship between Latin American countries and Israel, and has earned him the recognition as Ambassador of Goodwill by the State of Israel in 2016. He was also awarded one of the 50 most influential Israel supporters in the world by Israel Allies in 2020. Pastor Ortiz has brought his faith and friendship to the fellowship as he serves as church outreach director, bringing the stories and the truths of the Jewish people to Christian churches and building bridges of friendship and respect between the Jewish and Christian community. Pastor Carlos Ortiz, welcome. Pastor Ortiz, you have done so much for Israel. You lead a church that you're constantly preaching about Israel. You brought tour groups to Israel. What's one accomplishment that you are most proud of when it comes to how you have united the Christian community with Israel?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. That's a very deep question for me because I have both professional and personal. I think one of my personal biggest accomplishments has been to actually work with your father, someone that I admire a lot. Being able to travel with them and do ministry with them, it's been one of my biggest personal accomplishments. In terms of your question, in order to unite, my job is being to educate, to really tell the Hispanic community why we need to support Israel. And in 2015, I had the incredible opportunity to work with a couple of different governments, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua, which did not have a relationship with Israel at the time. And we built a menorah in the middle of Managua. The president of Nicaragua allowed me to do so. And this beautiful menorah stands as a symbol of unity. And that actually made the fact that the government of Israel wanted to talk with the government of Nicaragua, and now both governments, they do have a relationship thanks to that particular menorah.
What a huge accomplishment and achievement. Thank you so much, Pastor Ortiz. I am so excited to welcome our next incredible guest to the stage. Since 1989, Pastor Alan Jackson has led World Outreach Church in Tennessee. He reaches more than 15,000 people through outreaches and worship services. He has also reached over 3 million people every single week worldwide through media. Included in Pastor Jackson's wide-reaching messages is his love and support for Israel and the Jewish people. Having long been a friend of Israel, a friend of the Jewish people, in the months since October 7th, he has helped fight the growing anti-Semitism that we've all seen grow across America and across the world. His church served as our flagship Friends of the Fellowship, Flags of the Fellowship location, where they planted over 1,200 Israeli flags to commemorate October 7th. We are so honored to welcome to this stage Pastor Alan Jackson. Pastor Alan, you have been on the front lines of being a pastor who proudly supports Israel and educates the masses through media, through your sermons every single week of how to stand with Israel and the Jewish people. I'm wondering how you've seen support for Israel change since October 7th, and in what way do you feel like you have been a part of that?
Well, respectfully, I think you're on the front lines. I'm very much on the reserve, but I'm honored to stand and use my voice for Israel. I think October 7th really changed the equation in this nation. First of all, it was humiliating to see the anti-Semitism expressed at those formerly elite universities. I don't consider them that any longer. But I also think there has been a response from the general public in favor of our friends in Israel and the Jewish people in general. And so I take it almost as a blessing. You know, it seems that the response will leave us stronger, and now we have a president who's used language to change the equation and the discussion for Gaza, and I believe for all of the land of Israel. It's an exciting time.
Incredible. And do you see Christian support and friendship with Israel continuing to grow? There's a lot of people talking about the younger generation, and you have one of the most incredible youth services at your church.
I think without any question, there is a growing support for Israel. And particularly with the younger people, I think the events of October 7th were so heinous that what Hamas did and the attitude they've had since then, their attitude with the hostages and the drip, drip, drip of the release and the lack of humanity and the way that people have been treated. It's really impossible, even for the biased media, to deny and overwhelm the facts that we can see with our eyes. And I think the result of that is a whole new generation of support for Israel and the people of the land.
Wow, it's encouraging and incredible to hear how in every area that you're speaking about, from the church to the Hispanic world to the universities, we're continuing to see more engagement from the Christian community, from the younger generation and the older generation, to be educated, engaged, and strengthened to continue to stand with Israel. This is not what we're hearing on the mainstream media, but as we're seeing, it's what's happening on the ground. And so I want to ask a question to these experts here. What would you say is one effective way that you can encourage our viewers to educate themselves and get involved as Christians of standing with Israel, from the church to the Hispanic community to the university campuses and beyond? Pastor Allen.
Well, I think it starts in I'm a pastor, so I'll start in the Christian communities. I think we have to talk to our friends about what God is doing in the land of Israel and with the Jewish people and how they are our friends and the assignment, the responsibility we have to use our voices on their behalf. And I think to fail to do so, we fail in a primary expression of our faith. And maybe we had the privilege of being silent in the past, but no longer. It's a critical time for all of us to use our voices, and with it, there's just a little bit of leadership. I think we can make an enormous change. I refuse to let the politicians lead the way on this. Those of us who are Christ followers have to stand up on behalf of our brothers and sisters in Israel, and to do so is to forfeit our momentum in the kingdom.
I've been to Pastor Allen's church, and the whole entryway is educating his people on the history of anti-Semitism and the biblical promises and directive of standing with Israel, that there are so many Christians and leaders now who want to be silent when it comes to their position on Israel. Pastor Allen is leading the way in making sure the Christian community takes responsibility of educating the masses of how to stand with Israel and why to stand with Israel. And we also have Pastor Carlos Ortiz. His church has also been supporting Israel in prayer and in action, building bomb shelters to keep the people safe. You stand up there and you preach in Spanish and in English of why your flock, why the Hispanic community should stand with Israel. What can you say the masses should know about standing with Israel and specifically the Hispanic community?
Well, I think that education starts at home. And I think especially first generation Hispanics, evangelicals like me, we have the responsibility to teach our children and our children's children why we need to support Israel. I think that that's a job that we need to start doing it more and more at home. From the pulpit, for us, it's extremely important to understand that we need to support Israel. First, because it's a biblical mandate. The Bible tells us so. Second, because it's the right thing to do as a nation and as an ally for this nation. And third, because, it's humanity. You need to support people in need. And that's one of the reasons why I am so proud to also work for the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Pastor Carlos. And Dean Bachman, you have spent your life bravely, boldly standing with Israel in prayer and in action on more forums and places than I can name here. I've heard how you've prayed with leaders in the Middle East. I've heard how you've prayed on the floor of the Senate and the House and even in the White House. And I've seen how you've taken that prayer and action to the front lines, which today is the college campus. We've seen the images from the college campuses of people burning the Israeli flags, burning the American flags. Why do you think it's so important, and do you think it's effective to start educating the next generation on these Christian college campuses? And have you seen any change yet?
Well, it's not a coincidence that those who hate Israel started on the college campuses. It's a disgrace. on no college campus in the United States should anti-Semitism find a welcome home. That needs to end. And so at Regent University, we've always been, for 50 years, a pro-Israel campus, but now we're seeing that we have to be more assertive in handing the diploma to the baton to the next generation. So to that end, tomorrow, for instance, at Regent, we're holding an entire seminar just on hostages for students. And next week after that, soon we're having Danny Duran, the ambassador to the UN from Israel. Then we're bringing in rabbis who are intellectuals together with Christian intellectuals to talk about the basis of Western civilization, which is Israel. And so we have an ongoing series of education for young people because they'll either be taught anti-Semitism or they'll be taught love for Israel. So we're on offense with our young people, and our goal is to do this and replicate it on campuses all across the United States.
Incredible. Yes, definitely. We have a lot of people watching right now. And what's one thing that our audience can do to stand with Israel? Pastor Jackson.
Well, I think it starts at your kitchen table. If you have children still at home or even grandchildren, you invite them to the regular daily prayer for the peace of Jerusalem, the inhabitants of the land. Make it a part of your life. We don't have to wait for something grand to do. Let's start to take that passion we have in our hearts and share it with the generations following us, so it becomes an inescapable part of our future.
I love that because it's also a blessing back on the family. We know what the promise is for those who pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
The kitchen table is a great place to bring that blessing on the altar. Amazing.
Amen. I think a lot of us think we want to help, but we don't know how.
Yeah.
And we need to find a great partner. What a better partner than the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, which for over 40 years has been helping people on the ground, not only in Israel, but also in Ukraine and many other countries. So I think that it's important that everybody, partnership with the fellowship. Partnership, if you're a pastor this year in the Flags of Fellowship, we will love to send you 1,200 flags so you can display them on October 5th, and that will be an amazing way to show your support for Israel.
Incredible. So just a minute on our October 7th memorial event, the Flags of Fellowship, which all three of these heroes are part of. It's the fellowship's flagship project, Flags of Fellowship. It's our way of inviting the larger community to join our efforts to remember October 7th and the atrocities that happened that day forever. And so every year we invite churches to sign up for our Flags of Fellowship project, and we send them a package with 1,200 Israeli flags, mini flags, that they can plant in their front yard. The front yard of your church can be covered in Israeli flags, each tiny flag to represent one life that was lost on October 7th. And the message is strong. The message says that our enemies of Israel are going to burn the Israeli flags. Many in the Jewish community are scared to wave the Israeli flags, and that it's the Christians who are proudly displaying the Israeli flags and saying, if you want to get to the Jewish people, you'll have to get through us first. And I can't think of any stronger message than that. So thank you, all three of you, for being part of this. Dean Bachman.
You know, when my husband and I were dating in college, we watched a movie about the Holocaust. It was all new to us. We had no idea. And so we decided when we got married 47 years ago that every year we would watch a movie, see a play, watch a book about the Holocaust and the Jewish people. We've done that every year as a married couple. That's been important for us. It's been important for our family because it's reminded us to never forget. And we were really very excited when we learned about the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. I agree with my brother, Carlos. What we found was a trustworthy organization. We didn't have a lot of money, but we found a trustworthy organization where we could actively take our faith and our money and put a donation in a funnel, really of faith. We put it in a funnel called International Fellowship. And what I love, it's the largest humanitarian relief organization in Israel. It allows Christians to fulfill Isaiah 40, comfort ye, my people. And so we know that We can't do a lot, but what we can do, we can give, trusting, knowing that it will produce bountiful results, and it has. So I'm so grateful that your father started the organization that he did, so that by the time we got to October 7th, 2023, under your capable managing leadership, then we were at a place where we could receive even more donations because Israel had a greater need. And so we need to continue to stand up for Israel wherever we can.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for recognizing that important work of feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, sheltering the poor, comfort my people. And it's because of that servant's heart of so many Christians who have given so sacrificially that during 2023 to 2024, during that year, the fellowship was able to distribute over 3 million meals from our soup kitchen as rockets were falling. So we are honored to be part of that biblical prophecy, biblical promise of Jews and Christians coming together to honor God's name and bring honor to his word. All right, well, thank you so much for being on this panel, and congratulations on much deserved honor of being the top 10 influential Christian Zionists. We appreciate you, and we will remember your honor and care and love and prayers for Israel forever. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I am Glenn Beck, and I am a Christian.
My name is Tudor Dixon, and I'm a Christian woman.
I'm a Christian, and I stand with Israel.
And I stand with Israel and the Jewish people.
Soy cristiano y apoyo a Israel y el pueblo judío.
We are Christian, and we love Israel. We stand with the Jewish people.
And stand together and let the world know there are millions of us Christians who will not be silenced in the wake of rising anti-Semitism.
Soy cristiano. Estoy con Israel y el pueblo.
But I stand with Israel and with the Jewish people.
Soy cristiana. Estoy con Israel y con el pueblo judío. Shalom.
Soy cristiana y estoy con Israel y el pueblo judío.
In Israel, you might wake up to the sound that means you have to go to a bomb shelter.
Anti-Israel slogans graffitied on all of the statues, the awfulness.
Now is a time when the American people can stand with our ally Israel, and it really matters.
If it's not us, then who? If it's not now, then when?
Soy cristiano, oro por Israel y apoyo el pueblo judío.
And my friends at IFCJ, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, are asking you to stand with the people in Israel. I am proud to say that I am going to be standing with them.
It's never been more important us to stand together with the Jewish people, the state of Israel. They know they believe with them.
Our next honoree has been a huge supporter of Israel in both media and politics. Governor Huckabee first visited Israel many years ago, 50 years ago, and instantly became a lover of Israel. Since then, he's visited over 100 times in these past 5 decades, including many times with me and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. This support for Israel and the fellowship has proven valuable in the months since October 7th. He has helped give a voice to those people who otherwise wouldn't have had a voice. He speaks to the pain and the hardship of Israel and the Jewish people, of the victims and the family members. He, along with some of our other esteemed honorees, have accepted their award earlier this evening, and so they have made a video in order to share with you.
I want to thank IFCJ and the Jerusalem Post for this wonderful award. If there has ever been a time when every single person should stand with Israel, it's now. In my over 50 years of travel to the Holy Land, I've been to Israel in both the best of times and the worst of times. October 7th was truly one of the worst moments of anti-Semitism in recent history. Unfortunately, the horrors, they're not over. There are many men, women, and children who are still being held captive as prisoners, and many others are still healing from the terror of that sad day. I truly believe that caring for Israel in their moment of need is something that is as close to the heart of God as anything one can find in all of the Bible. We all must stand in solidarity with Israel through our prayers, our support, and our individual voices. We got to fight back, but with kindness, love, and truth. The craziness of anti-Semitism and hate is loud, but together the voices of those who stand with Israel have the potential to be even louder. Every voice matters, and I'm honored to be one of those voices. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor Huckabee. Many of you have heard of Sean Hannity. Of course, he has the radio show that reaches millions, the Sean Hannity Show, and he also hosts Hannity on Fox News, which reaches millions. He has always been a friend and supporter of Israel and the Jewish people. And since October 7th, Sean Hannity, his voice has been even more needed. And he's been reaching the masses to continue to educate them, to update them, and to unabashedly say that if you want to stand with values, if you want to stand with America, then you must stand with Israel. Sean Hannity is a hero of our time, and he has accepted this award and made this video for us today.
Hey, to all my friends at the IFCJ, I'm beyond humbled and honored, and frankly, I don't really feel worthy of standing up for things that are right. It breaks my heart to see all that has happened to our friends in Israel and all you've gone through since, what happened in October 7th in 2023. And it's even sadder to see the ugly rise of anti-Semitism around the globe, but also on American college campuses and the halls of Congress as you fight back against radical Islamic terrorism and people that are committed for the destruction of Israel, the destruction of America, death to Israel, death to America. We hear it so often. I have a very hard time. I don't know why there is not more united moral clarity, because I'll say to people sometimes on the show, well, excuse me, explain this to me. What part of people murdered? Because on October 7th, the equivalent of 40,000 Americans died in a single day. What part of murder and torture and kidnapping and beheading are people having a hard time understanding? And the tens of thousands of Israelis that have been displaced, a 7-front war, ballistic missiles from Iran. You're battling Hamas out of Gaza, Hezbollah, and Islamic Jihad out of Lebanon, the Houthi rebels again, and all supported by Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror. My prayer with the new president in town that just agreed to send bunker-busting bombs to Israel is that Israel, once and for all, will win its war against radical Islamic terrorism so the Israeli people can live in peace, and that the region can find a permanent peaceful solution. That is my prayer. That is my hope. I don't deserve an honor. I think all of you that bravely have been supporting those that are displaced, those that need food and shelter and medicines and bare necessities, you deserve the praise. You deserve the honor. And if I have one honor, it's to be associated with such wonderful people like the IFCJ. God bless all of you. Thank you all. And God bless Israel as well. And God bless America.
Thank you so much, Sean. Many of you have heard of Jonathan Isaac. He is the NBA very talented player for the Orlando Magic. And he's also a very proud Christian. His voice standing with Israel and the Jewish people and standing against anti-Semitism has been needed now more than ever, and he has proudly stepped up. The younger generation is looking to their leaders to see where should they stand when it comes to these heated political issues. And Jonathan Isaac has stood proud with truth, with justice, and with Israel. We are so honored to present Jonathan Isaac with the award of being a top 10 Christian Zionist.
Especially to be, next to so many amazing people that are also receiving this award. I'm grateful. Back when I saw everything that happened on October 7th, I didn't really have words. It kind of shook me to my core and showed me that this is a reality of what is going on over there, and that this is still happening, that terrorism is still at bay. And really the hatred from people against Israel, and a lot of people actually saying in some twisted way that what happened on October 7th was justified. And I just vehemently disagreed. And I also saw that people who spoke out about it were ostracized or demeaned or seen as, on the wrong side of history. And that's when I felt the need to say, okay, I have to say something, not only say something, but do something. So I took to my Twitter, I took to my Instagram and said simply that obviously I pray for every life that's involved. And, I don't hope to see anyone perish. But at the end of the day, I 100% stand with Israel in their fight against terrorism, because that's what this is. Israel is not fighting the Palestinian people. Israel is fighting the terrorist organization Hamas and its allies. And the truth is, if Israel had the same contempt for the Palestinian people that Hamas has for Israel, there would be no Palestinian people. And for me, that tells me everything that I need to know. And in the effort to not just say something, but do something, I started a Christian sports and apparel company called Unitas in an effort to create an alternative to the woke and mainstream sports and apparel companies, to give lovers of God and lovers of country the ability to support a brand that truly supports them and gives them the ability to wear apparel and shoes that keep them united and connected to God and each other with faith forward, faith first. But one of the things that we did in support of Israel was create the I Stand With Israel t-shirt that we have on our website today. And what we did was we committed a percentage of the profits of the t-shirt to the United Hatzalah organization in Israel that ministers first aid and medic to Israelis that are caught in situations like October 7th. So again, thank you so very much for giving me this award. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless you all.
We need more people like him. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this 2025 Jerusalem Post Awards, where we are honoring the top 10 Christian Zionists who have stood strongly with Israel and the Jewish people, especially since October 7th. Let's give all of these people a hand. I am so honored now to welcome to the stage our new list of honorees. These individuals have shown courage in the pulpit while engaging the church in a deeper understanding of Israel's fascinating history and spiritual significance. They have bridged awareness to the critical issues currently affecting the Jewish people, and they've activated the church community to take tangible action along with ongoing prayers to stand with Israel and the Jewish people and to stand against the rise in anti-Semitism. Our first honoree that I want to welcome is Carlos Duran. Our honoree pastor, Carlos Duran, is a leader in Washington, D.C. community and internationally. Working for the Promise Keepers for more than a decade, Pastor Duran also founded and leads Men of Their Word and the National Hispanic Pastors Alliance. Building bridges of faith and fellowship around the world is what he does every single day. This faithful friendship extends to the Jewish people and to the Jewish state of Israel, as Pastor Duran has long been an ally of both, including serving on the executive community of the Latino Coalition for Israel and speaking in support of Israel in the days and months following the October 7th attacks. Even at times when the larger community stood against Israel, he proudly raised his voice. He was not ashamed. He was not embarrassed. He stood proud to stand with Israel, and we are honored to stand with him. Pastor Duran. are so honored to have you with us. There is so much going on today where people are talking about what divides us. I want to hear from you. You focus on what connects the Jewish and Hispanic community. What connects the Hispanic community with Israel? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Completely. Kyle, thank you. Kyle, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here today.
God bless you.
And when the war started, the Lord took me to Leviticus to Proverbs. And Proverbs said there's a verse that says, a family is for hard times, a family is for all times, but a friend is for hard times. And we took that to heart, and we decided to really support Israel with everything we have. What is the commonality between the Jewish community and the Hispanic? What unites us? Yeah. For us, I think it's in our DNA. The Sephardi Jewish, first of all, were in Spain and Portugal, and actually they migrated to Latin America. Yeah. So when you see my last name comes from a town in Algeria called Orun. So the Jewish people was called Duran, like in Duran. So I can trace my lineage in the Jewish community to books that were written by my ancestors thousands of years ago. So when you have this, you have Hispanic Jewish communities in Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Argentina, Uruguay, Panama. I just came back from Costa Rica to their synagogue. What a wonderful and beautiful synagogue. So we share that DNA, that common blood, you can say. Then we have our Judeo-Christian values. The Hispanic community is a community based on faith. We treasure that, and praying for Israel is something that is in our DNA of our faith. So you go to churches in Guatemala, in Honduras, Uruguay, Argentina, and in these little churches, they have the banner of Israel in the pulpit. You go to Denver, Colorado, small towns in the middle of the country, and there is the banner of Israel, and they're praying for Israel. So it's a shared faith. And then we have the struggle. We have suffered as a Hispanic community. We have migrated to the United States. We have escaped wars in South America, Central America. We have to look for hope. We have to fight to survive. We have been persecuted. And even within the United States right now, we're struggling as a community. But we are full of hope. So I think in that heart-to-heart, we identify with the Jewish community. And finally, I think that we are go-getters. There is nothing impossible that we can do. So especially the community in the United States, they cross the United States with nothing in their pockets, and they make a life. They make the desert green. They make the brokenness whole. And in one generation, they go from nothing to lead the country. Wow. And so I think there is so much to unite us. And like our community, the churches, I was there the day of the attack. We've been there 7 times with buses of 40 pastors each time. Regardless of the fear, of the problems of having to do 1 and 2 and 3 stops, we have been 7 times. We're going next month with another 40 buses. In January last year, the 23rd, we brought 70 pastors to the Capitol Hill because they have put Ukraine, the budget of Israel, and immigration together. And we went to advocate. We came back 4 times last year with Hispanic pastors. So we take our faith into action. Wow. So I think there is so much to unite us. Yes. That I think we just run in parallel looking for a dream to succeed.
Wow, Pastor Duran, a hero of Israel, a hero of the Christian community. We are so honored to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
I have been waiting for this moment to welcome and honor Bishop Paul Lanier. Bishop Paul Lanier is not only a personal friend and mentor, but he is also the pastor of Hope Community Church in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Bishop Lanier started off serving on the fellowship's board and moved up quickly to be our chairman. He is the most incredible chairman of the board for the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and his voice has been heard around the world in his strong support for Israel and the Jewish people, both before October 7th and every day since. Pastor Bishop Paul Lanier has continued to visit Israel immediately after the October 7th attacks up until very recently, just a few weeks ago. He stood on the northern and southern border, and he's been attacked by rockets more than 1 time. but that doesn't stop him from standing with Israel and the Jewish people. He's committed to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, and be a voice for the Christian community standing with Israel. Bishop Paul Lanier. Bishop Lanier, you have been to Israel so many times, both before October 7th and after October 7th. What would you say are the biggest challenges right now facing Israel and the Jewish people?
I would say probably when I visited Israel before October 7th or just afterwards, everybody on the plane, everybody that I met, seemed as if they had just been gut punched. And in a matter of months, the heinous violence, the war, the hostages, all of the people, while still steadfast and focused, you could feel a weariness and a wondering. Where is everybody? Where are our supporters? Where are the people who said they would never leave us? Where are they?
And so you've been preaching around the world of why Christians need to stand with Israel. What would you say have been the biggest challenges that you found and the most effective message that you think the Christian community is open to hear of why they should stand with Israel?
For me, it's the most Jesus thing I do. As a Christian, I listen to what Jesus said. And so when I look in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, Jesus says, I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in prison and you came and visited me. And people will say, well, when did we do all of these things? And he says, when you've done it unto the least of these my brethren, and it was your father, Rabbi Yechiel Eckstein of blessed memories, your father that taught me that these least of these my brethren were the Jews. I never even put two and two together. I didn't connect the dots. And so what we have in common, believing in the one God of the one Israel and the one capital city, which is Jerusalem, being able to understand that I don't have to come out in the name. Everything I do as a Christian is in the name of Jesus. That's for me. But I don't have to come out and pronounce it and speak it and declare it. Jesus didn't say when you feed them in my name or when you clothe them in my name or when you feed them. He just would, when you do these things, you've done it unto the least of these when you've done it unto them, you've done it unto me. So I would say to believers, because there's a lot of people who are hurting and terrorists from around the world, as we're going to hear in a moment from our brother Dumisani, have hijacked legitimate civil rights concerns of people who've been oppressed. They have hijacked that narrative, and I think what's necessary for people like myself and other pastors is to help Christians in the pews understand. Do you believe in Bethlehem? That's Israel. Do you believe in Nazareth? That's Israel. Do you believe in the Galilee? 80% of the ministry of Jesus was in the Galilee. So it's incumbent upon us to help to connect the dots between the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures, that one doesn't exist for us without the other.
Thank you so much, Bishop Lanier. Our next honoree you have probably heard of, and the incredible work that he does, Dumisani, Washington. When he was a young child, his parents gave him a Bible. They gave him the Old Testament. They probably didn't realize what an effect that would have on the future of Israel and the Jewish people. When Dumisani read these scriptures, it ignited his imagination and love for Israel at a very young age. He has spent his life standing with Israel and encouraging the Black community to stand with Israel, study their roots, and that we need one another in order to be stronger. Pastor Washington leads the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, and he also authored the book Zionism and the Black Church. He is a very accomplished musician and a man of many skills, and I'm going to let him speak for himself and for you to hear his wisdom as I invite up Pastor Dumisani Washington. Pastor Washington, what an honor to be up here with you.
Yeah, it's finally good to see you face to face. Been once a long time ago. We've known each other for some 12 years. We can finally get a chance to physically, other than on virtual, sit down and talk together.
But for anyone who doesn't follow him virtually, this is your opportunity to do so. You will not regret it. Pastor Washington, we hear your story of how your parents gave you a Bible and it changed the history of Israel forever through everything that you've been doing through your advocacy and ministry. What would you say is the most important thing for parents, for Christian parents, who want to teach their children a love for Israel and the Jewish people at a young age?
Well, if I can use mine as an example, I know that wasn't their intention. In other words, as I shared before, they gave us the word. We went to church. Faithful members, all the church babies out there. I'm there 5-6 days a week, and music and deacons and all those things. And it's the word of God that speaks to who Israel is. So for us in our house, there were never any discussions around the geopolitical reality that was Israel. It was first and foremost the God of Israel in the Bible. And so reading it as a child, when I'm reading about the patriarchs or I'm reading about David, I'm reading about the prophets, those things just came alive to me. So there was no separation, whether it was in preaching, whether it was in the music, especially in terms of just traditional gospel music, which was rooted in the Negro spirituals, which was Go Down Moses and Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Those songs, they weren't just songs, they were actually stories rooted in the Bible that made application to right now life. So that's what it was for me. So when it came to the modern state of Israel, that for me was the manifestation of what was in the Word of God.
It's incredible to be able to recognize that the Word of God can be integrated in every area of life, even music, and especially music. I'm wondering, you've recorded a lot of music where you've integrated Hebrew verses into gospel music. What would you say your favorite Hebrew verse is? And if you want to sing it to us, you're more than welcome to.
I'm more of a keyboardist than a vocalist. I won't do that part. But I would, I don't know if I have a favorite, but one of the ones that we often do is the Kadosh. It's kind of based in Isaiah, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. And so our musicians and over the years would kind of do their kind of gospel jazz interpretations of those, and we've done them for a long, long time. And there would be call and responses. What I noticed when we first started doing it was that there's virtually no Hebrew speakers in the room, but because of the way that the song, it's easier to sing another language than it is to speak another language. And so once we began to sing it, from the very first time we began to do them in the congregation, immediately we say Kadosh, they say Kadosh, Adonai Elohim, and next thing you know, they're singing whole verses in Hebrew just because they're hearing it in the music. So that's one of the parts of the power of the music that we've seen happen over the years.
We see it in the Levites. It's biblical. They were part of that service.
How can we sing the Lord's song? One of the things I know we talked about, Yael, was that even the Babylonians, once they took the Jewish people captive, the music from Zion was so famous that they wanted songs. Sing us the songs of Zion. So we see how that's so alive even now. When you're singing of the songs of Zion, it captures hearts and minds.
By the rivers of Babylon. Wow, beautiful. And so what I want to ask all of you is, you have been incredibly effective in your outreach and messaging and engagement to your communities and to the masses. What would you say is the most effective way, or with the most effective message, to reach the next generation, to encourage them as proud Christians to proudly stand with Israel? Pastor Duran.
Well, we have a leadership institute where we recruit kids from 20 to 35 kids, and we teach them biblical values to apply in the public arena. And we get a lot of Christian young people that is very liberal. And I learned that by sitting with them and showing by example, first of all, by giving them opportunities to grow, and by having a heart-to-heart conversation where I actually define principles, they actually get transformed. So I have parents that have called me up and said my daughter was going left, and now she's all right after she came back from the institute. So I think that the young people is looking for action, for more than words, more than prayer, more than going to church on Sunday, to where are you applying the faith? And what are the defining values that will speak to the culture? So it's proven with tithes and offerings at churches, where people is giving more to projects than to the church, because they want to see action. So I think our youth right now, it wants action and wants ways to apply their faith. So we can kind of provide that. And we see, like, today we had a published op-ed in one of the national newspapers, and it was written by one of our students, because they want to express themselves. So I think giving them opportunities, creating the bridges, and creating the path, investing in them is important.
Beautiful. We have to lead by example, and they will follow. Bishop Lanier.
I celebrate in our own local congregation what we call kingdom education, where the teachers help our children understand the Christian celebrations that we have from the Christian scriptures, but how they are so inseparably connected. They didn't know what the Moedim, they didn't know the appointed times, Passover, Rosh Hashanah, and helping them be able to connect some of the dots. Also, even projects like the pastor was noting, helping them to understand we're raising these funds to help buy one airline ticket for one Olim to be able to fly to Israel from Ethiopia or Ukraine, to where they're participating today in something very prophetic, consequential, and significant.
Incredible. Thank you so much. They want to do something.
Yes.
They want to take action. They want to know that they can make a tangible difference.
And it helps them watch the news differently. Yeah. When they hear the stories on the television, the news, we just talked about that in class, that city, that space, that was where such and such happened in the Bible.
Incredible. It's real.
Yes, ma'am.
Pastor Washington.
Well, along with that, Yael, what we found is that engaging in these conversations in this very contemporary moment. There's many different ways. I'll do this quickly. October 7th, which shook the world, even people who don't know much about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and it has spurred, among other things, conversations with both black pastors and young people about our shared fight with Israel against extremism. As that was happening with Hamas in Israel, Boko Haram was slaughtering Christians in Nigeria, Al-Shabaab slaughtering Christians in Kenya, and having that universal conversation that Israel's not just on the front lines of that fight, but for us as Christians or people of faith or people who value religious freedom, Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, because they unfortunately, indiscriminately, they will kill Christians, Jews, and other Muslims because of their extremism. That has been one of the most cohesive things in terms of this conversation that we've been having, especially with black leaders in the community across the country.
It's such an important point. There are places in the world where it is illegal to stand publicly with Hamas, places like Morocco and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Jordan. And then there are other places where we see a rise in the public stand with Hamas, places like America and Europe. And it's important to recognize it doesn't stop with the Saturday people, it goes on to the Sunday people. It doesn't stop with the little Satan, it goes on to the big Satan. And we have to fight this together, because even if you're silent, eventually it will get to you. We have to do this together. Well, thank you so much for joining this panel. I'd like to now invite all of our honorees to come up on stage to receive their award. We are at a time in history now where we need to stand together. I want to thank all of these honorees, all of these 10 heroes of the Jewish people standing in the name of their Christian faith with the values that will keep this world turning right. The values of freedom, the values of Judeo-Christian values, the values of standing against anti-Semitism and standing with Israel. And we want to thank you, our viewers, and everyone here in the audience for standing with us, Jews and Christians, Israel and America. Together, we are stronger. The scriptures say that a strong cord cannot be easily broken. We have to stand together, and so we can create the future that will be beautiful for us all. Thank you so much. Who's this one?
Dumisani.
Pastor Washington. Bishop Lanier. Thank you. Pastor Duran, thank you so much. Pastor Carlos.
Thank you, John.
Dean Bachman. Thank you. Thank you. Pastor Alex.
Thank you so much.
Bless you. God bless you. These are the heroes of our generation.